everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. We're here at the Record Parlor in Los Angeles, California, with guitarist Steve Vai, who had the challenge of picking out his top 5 vinyl in this epic record shop. On Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. Hey guys, I'm Eric Young, and welcome to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. Our guest today is Steve Vai. Steve Vai is a guitarist, songwriter, and producer who started his career at the age of 18 as a transcriptionist for Frank Zappa. Steve has played with many iconic musicians, including David Lee Roth, Alice Cooper, Mary J. Blige, and Whitesnake. Let's go through the list. You pull these out of the bag in no particular order, and we'll just go through your list, man. Vinyl number 1.
Wow.
Alice
This
Cooper.
is Alice Cooper, $1 Billion Babies. You just never know what's going to captivate you.
Yep.
And the best time is when you're a kid because you're innocent.
Yep.
You know, you don't know.
Your eyes wide open.
You haven't necessarily fallen into a particular peer group.
Yep.
So you're free to like anything you want
Yep.
without prejudice.
Beautiful time.
And you'll naturally gravitate to those things that move you.
Yep.
You know, and this was like it for me. Records like this, but especially this particular one. The first Alice Cooper record I heard was Love It to Death. And again, it's my sister, you know, my brothers and sisters bringing music home.
Yep.
And then this, I went out and got my own myself. And I don't know, maybe I was 13 or 14. And it just had everything I loved. Theater, Alice Cooper is about theater.
Yes.
But everything is virtually for naught if it doesn't have melody. If it's not like something that resonates with you melodically.
Yep.
Even great lyrics without a good melody are crippled,
Yep.
you know? But this whole record is just cool melody. This is somebody that took entertaining to
The next level.
a great level, yeah, the next level. I mean, he took it to the next level, especially this tour,
Yeah.
the guillotine and the hanging and, you know, all this crazy stuff.
Yep.
So this was a big record for me.
Vinyl number 2.
David Bowie, this record, oh man. Every song on it is a gem. It takes you someplace. The whole record it's an atmosphere. It's an escape. It's a fantasy, you know?
That's what he was trying to create.
That's what he was trying. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I thought it was.
He did though, right?
I think so. I
That's
believe so.
part of the brilliance of it.
That's part of the brilliance. What I had discovered later in life was that David Bowie started out as more of the group he hung out with were stage people, theatrical people that were doing outrageous things with costumes and creating characters. And this is basically what I learned from watching his interviews and stuff. You know, he would like to create a character like an actor.
Yep.
And then play that part. But he had such great musical instincts for what was right for him.
Yep.
Every one of his records, you know, there's that freedom of exploration to it.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that he had enough of a pop culture sensibility that it became accessible music.
To everyone.
Yeah, to everyone. Whereas
Yeah.
Frank's, you know, is not as accessible.
Maybe not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not, but you know, you turn on the radio and you can hear Bowie
100%.
anytime. This record in particular was so effective to me because I didn't know that it was a guy playing a character.
Right.
And I thought, this guy he's Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
And all of the lyrical content and the picture that he's painting of just like this glam space cadet,
Yep.
but with such great melody. And Mick Ronson, the guitar player, was just the coolest to me.
Yeah.
That Les Paul with the finished wood cover.
Yep.
I actually have it.
Iconic.
Yeah, I got one too like that. I had the guy I had an opportunity to buy his guitar.
Oh, wow.
The guy wanted way too much money for it, but he makes those, and he made me one, so I have one
Awesome.
at home. But this was just another one of those records where I can put it on anytime. And I do occasionally.
Yep.
I put it on and I listen to it and I'm there. You're there again.
Transported.
Yeah. Frank
Right.
was an explosion of freedom. He was constantly, he was the boss of him,
Yep.
you know?
This is Vinyl Obsession, the podcast, and we're back with guitarist Steve Vai.
So the beauty in the music for us is the diversity.
Yep.
I mean, what would you want? Just Alice Cooper records?
No.
You know,
He's great.
it's great, but I want this too.
Vinyl number 3.
This is Frank Zappa Freak
Right.
Out. And this one, as I had mentioned, I didn't know anything about Frank Zappa. I heard the name, and back then, there was what you'd hear rumors. There was always rumors of weird things that rock stars did.
Yep. What is a rumor you heard about Frank Zappa?
Oh, well,
before?
the famous rumor was that Alice Cooper was doing a show,
Yep.
and he had a gross out contest, and whoever would challenge him to gross him out, and Alice Cooper supposedly, this is the story, it's all bull, you know,
Yep.
took a dump on one of the drum heads,
Yep.
and Frank Zappa came up and ate it.
It's a wild story.
That's what. If you
a
knew
wild-
Frank,
wild story.
you would know how absolutely
Insane.
insane that is. But it was this rumor, and you know how rumors are. That's like politics or something.
Sure.
You know, they get under people that once they believe it, that's it.
The telephone game.
Yeah, but Frank, when it's brought up to, when it would be brought up to Frank, he'd say, "The closest I ever came to eating shit was at a Holiday Inn in Florida." Is that
a great answer.
the dinner at the Holiday?
But he
Inn?
had a reputation of being kind of a different guy, kind of a wild man.
Frank
right?
was an explosion of freedom. He was constantly, he was the boss of him.
Yep.
You know, he made no excuses and he didn't expect anybody to do it for him.
Yep.
And he was constantly creative and most of the time laughing while he was doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and just finding those things that it resonated with him, that touched him, that he thought was important enough to capture. Not caring what anybody else was doing.
Right.
Unless he was kind of ripping from them as a joke.
Yep.
You know? But this record, it's so interesting. First of all, it's the first double live record. I mean, not live, I'm sorry. First double record ever released as a debut album for an artist. Imagine that. He just went in and made a double record.
It's brave.
It's really brave. And the music on it, it's nothing like what was going on.
Yep.
So it looks like on the surface it'd take courage. But for Frank, there was no courage necessary.
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter. I'm doing this and that's it.
That's better than courage.
Yeah. It's beyond courage.
It's beyond courage.
Yeah.
It takes no courage because it doesn't care.
Yeah, because courage is kind of like, you got to work yourself up.
Yep.
And I'm going to do that. No way. It's like, I'm doing this. If anybody wants to know what I'm doing this. And by the way, this is what I'm doing.
Yep.
The end.
Courage is a form of worrying,
Yeah.
and Frank didn't worry about anything
Didn't worry
from what
about
you were saying,
anything. Yeah.
which is awesome. Okay.
Courage has
so
worry.
how old are you the first time you hear this? You see it in a store.
Okay, this was the first record I ever bought, the first rock record.
Yep.
So I was probably 12 or 13, and I bought it because of the album cover. I didn't know anything, and I had heard the name and I heard the rumor.
Yep.
And I was like, what is this about? You know, so I had to buy it. It was a lot of money for me, you know, and it was a risk. But I bought it and I put it on, and I just couldn't believe it, you know? It was like heaven in a cup.
Right.
Because I just heard something that didn't sound like anything else. And that was enough.
So fast forward, you're that age, you buy that,
Yeah.
you love that album, and then later in life, you start working with Frank.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like that's mind-boggling, I'm sure, for you.
Well, it was incredible because once I discovered this, I started inviting my friends over. I would always do that, invite them over to listen.
You got to hear this.
And there was one Zappa freak in my school.
Yeah.
And he brought me a couple of other records of Frank's records. And they're totally different. All of Frank's records are not vastly different, but very, very different from each other. Yeah, they're all, and the breadth of his work spans so many genres, but not where it's, now I'm going to make a blues song that sounds, now I'm going to compose an orchestra piece that sounds like no, it's like I'm using these tools to sound like me in that, with those tools,
Frank Zappa's lots of colors.
Lots of colors. And so I discovered his, because Frank would make music, a lot of the quality of it was based on the musicians he had at a given time.
Right.
Frank had this, part of his brilliance was this ability to kind of read musicians right into their potential. He could see your potential better than you can.
Yep.
And he'd give you an opportunity to express it.
Which is an unbelievable skill.
Yeah, but you'd have to have something that was important to his palate.
Yep.
So someone like myself, I was very interested in being able to play very difficult melody lines on the guitar that just didn't belong on the guitar.
Yep.
And that was of use to Frank.
Right.
Because before that, he didn't have people, he couldn't give guitar players those kinds of long, complex melody lines.
You were a new amazing tool for him.
Yeah, I was another color in his toolbox.
That's it.
So when I was with him, his records were quasi-painted with my color.
Yep.
And Frank did that constantly. So every record was a snapshot of something that was captured that could never happen again.
It's kind of, these are the people that are working on it. Next time will be different people.
Yeah, and you find yourself doing things you did not know you can do.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a great choice. Great choice.
This is historic melody. Stephen Sondheim is the greatest lyricist that ever lived. And Leonard Bernstein, this is his meat. This is the compositions in here are so him, the best of him.
Yep. Welcome back to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. Today we have guitarist Steve Vai talking about his top 5 vinyl. All right, next one. Vinyl number 4. I love this.
West Side Story. Boy, this record, this was my awakening.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was 4 years old, I discovered how a piano works. I hit a note on a piano and I noticed that the notes go higher this way and they go lower that way. And I had an epiphany, like music. It was like, oh, so I could see music. And I thought this was natural to everybody, but later I discovered it's natural to musicians.
Yep.
And it was lucky for me because there was nothing else that I was natural at, but I could see it and it instantly knew, even at that age, that
music was for you.
Music, composition, I wanted to, anything I heard, I could see it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I said, that's it. There was no questioning.
Yep.
Just like what you were telling me about your career.
Yep.
You just know, and it's a very innocent thing.
Yep.
There's no resistance to it.
And not everyone gets it. Right? So
Well, they get it, but they block it.
Yeah.
They block following it.
Right.
Everybody knows what they like.
Yeah,
you know.
That's true. That's a good way to say it.
But sometimes they feel guilty enjoying it.
So this is your gateway, West
So
Side
this
Story,
was it because.
which I think is a record for first soundtrack.
Yeah, this one is from the original motion picture soundtrack.
Yep.
Because after I had discovered music and I knew I wanted to write it, because I knew that the writing is infinite.
Yep.
This is how you can do anything. I don't know why I felt that way even at that age. It was just there. But then my parents brought this home, and I was 5, and I'd listen to it, and I'd listen to it, and I'd listen to it because the energy in it,
Yep.
the melody.
I like to be in America, okay by me in America, everything free in America.
Forest Wolfie in America.
This is historic melody. Stephen Sondheim is the greatest lyricist that ever lived. And Leonard Bernstein, this is his meat. This is the compositions in here are so him, the best of him.
Yep.
And, well, it's debatable, but for me, and there was all these things that I loved. There was a story, there was theater, there was gangs, there was love interests, there was intensity, there was the cops, there was all of this wrapped up in this incredible orchestration and melody.
Yep.
So I said, that's it. So this
All the things
record,
that you love in one
yeah,
place. It's awesome, man.
I didn't have the respect to believe that I was worthy of playing something that seemed so cool and untouchable.
Yep.
Until I heard this.
Welcome back to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. We're taking a look at Steve Vai's top vinyl picks. All right, last but not least, vinyl number 5.
I was looking for Led Zeppelin 2,
Yep.
but this is right up there with it. But
There's
Led
not a bad
Zeppelin
one in
2,
the bunch, right?
yeah, Led Zeppelin 2 was the record that was the first record I heard where I aligned with the determination that I'm going to play the guitar. Because I discovered the guitar earlier. I saw somebody playing it, a little kid. He was 9. But as soon as I saw it, I was 6 or 7, and I saw this kid playing a guitar in my grade school auditorium. And it was a moment of clarity. I saw that thing. I instinctually knew exactly what it did.
Yeah.
And it even had a whammy bar.
Yeah.
And the sound, the way a guitar clangs, just the way it hits your ears and the way it resonates in you. Everybody should play it.
Yep.
But
I tried.
yeah, well,
I failed.
well, you're doing other things.
Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to play it, but I didn't have the courage. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the self respect to believe that I was worthy of playing something that seemed so cool and untouchable.
Yep.
Until I heard this. Or actually, it was Led Zeppelin 2.
Yeah.
And I heard that Jimmy Page Heartbreaker solo. That was it. My fate was sealed.
Yep. As soon as you heard that.
You're playing, I don't care what anybody says. And then I just absorbed everything Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin was it. I lived and breathed and ate Led Zeppelin. And one of the greatest experiences you can have listening to a vinyl record is fetishing the album artwork.
100%.
That's part of the experience.
Yep.
You imbue the music with a whole visual atmosphere.
Yep.
I mean, if I look at this album cover, I'm there. I'm 13 again, and I'm playing with this little wheel.
Yep.
And I'm hearing this music, and this music is taking me away.
Yep.
From the world. And this is what everybody,
Yeah.
does. So it's like such a little treasure. And very shortly after that decision came in me,
Yep.
my friend happened to have been selling one of his, he was selling his guitar
Yep.
for $5. And I couldn't believe it. I said, I'll buy it.
Yep.
And I just couldn't believe I had a guitar. I was 12.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it, but it did not leave my side. You hear those stories about, I used to sleep with my guitar.
Yep.
Yeah, every night,
Yeah.
morning, from the time I went to bed to woke up, it was right there. God bless all of these people
You're right.
for making the music they did. I believe they do understand how effective, important, and vital it is. In,
And you're part of that world too, right?
Yeah.
Some 12-year-old is going to have seen you play, and you've inspired somebody to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to forget the exact quote, but I think it was Rolling Stone saying, you're a guitarist. And one of the
yeah,
10
what I
best-
do is a little more specialized in a
Yes.
sense. You know,
Yep.
it's kind of a little more abstract,
Of course.
quirky.
Yep.
But it's natural to me, so I don't
Natural
make
to
any
you.
excuses about it.
There are no excuses to be made, man. This was amazing. That's an amazing top 5. Listening to you talk about music, I learned things today.
Oh, good.
And I appreciate it, man.
So did I. Thanks.
Guys, thank you so much for watching Final Obsession. I'm Eric Young. He's Steve Vai. I'm obsessed. He's obsessed. And now you're obsessed.